Hi guys. Hi everyone. Hi Roman. І в житті, як на полі мінному, розсилав ціну зустрічі, хоч би тому не взаємно вічливі, і якби на твоя воля написала б скрізь курсивами, там багато на світі горя, люди, будьте взаємно красивими. Ліна Костенко. Yeah, I love Lina Kostenko. Lina Kostenko is beautiful. Roman wrote a poem by Lina Kostenko on YouTube. Hi guys. Hi Darlene. Hi. Oh my gosh. Hello. Hi Joe. Hi Darlene. Hi DBZ. Hi Gianmarco. Hi. Ooh, Vasilka. Hi Taz. Hi Theo. Hi Armin. Also Theo. My gosh, you're so fast. Hi Luan. I said I'm like impressed by Theo's skills of notifying Discord on when I've scheduled lives. I think today I was like, oh, live is around 3:30, and like 2 seconds later Theo was like, live's around 3:30. I love that. Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you. Hi Praxis. Hi Walter. Thank you Melissa. So big day today. Героям слава, Gianmarco. Big day today. NATO Parliamentary Assembly has declared Russia a terrorist state. So now I would like to notify everybody who might be reviewing my social media that if I say Russia is a terrorist state, you cannot block me for hate speech anymore, because NATO quite literally declared Russia a terrorist state. So that is their official label, and no one can say anything about it because it is on paper. So Russia is a terrorist state. Russia is a terrorist state. Russia is a terrorist state. So hi everyone. So basically there is that. Now the next step is Europarlament, and I really hope that they are going to follow suit as well and declare Russia officially a terrorist state as well, because, well, why wouldn't they? But to be honest, I am really incredibly happy that that had happened, because they have been a terrorist state this whole time and there was no question about it. But because it wasn't official, and because it wasn't recognized, when you would say things like that on TikTok or on YouTube or on Twitter, well, less so on Twitter, but on YouTube, on TikTok, on other social media platforms, you would quite literally get taken down for hate speech, for calling a terrorist country, because it wasn't officially recognized as a terrorist country. So now that my words are backed by NATO Parliamentary Assembly, I really hope that not a single one of these platforms is going to give me flack for calling things their names, because, I would not be flagged for hate speech if I called ISIS a terrorist organization, but for some reason I do get flagged for hate speech if I call Russia a terrorist state. But no more, because whoever is watching this video, if you are not aware, Russia is now officially a terrorist state. So yeah. So there is that. Hi guys. Happy Russia is a terrorist state day. I feel like this is such a big victory for the Ukrainian community. I think it's such a big victory for a community of Ukrainian activists. It's such a big victory for everyone who speaks about Ukraine on social media. In the simplest, you would think that it's not that deep, right? But it is, because it spans so many different directions, and it's important in so many different ways. And one of them is quite literally not being banned or flagged for saying things and calling things their names. So now that this is not just, Ukrainians advocating for naming Russia a terrorist state, it's that it has been officially recognized as such. So now it's going to be much easier to speak about Russia's terror acts and terrorist actions and not get taken down by whatever moderating source there is, right? Because, and that will bring much more freedom of speech on the matter. So there is that. So I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you know who Katarina Prokopenko is? Think back to Azov POWs, and think back to Azov POWs, and think back to Redis, the commander of Azov Regiment. How many of you know who Katarina Prokopenko is? Hi, Peter. And this question has a follow-up to it. There is a troll on Twitch saying you can't just label people as terrorists. Well, too bad, because NATO labeled Russia a terrorist state now. So I didn't. They did. Okay, so Katarina Prokopenko is the wife of the Azov commander-in-chief, of the Azov regiment commander, Denis Prokopenko, who is more known under the call name Redis. So she's a blonde, blue-eyed woman, and you've seen her advocating for Azov POWs. When before the 215 exchange. Also, Sin, my gosh, what are you doing? Come on, baby, no, come on, sorry. I need to calm my dog down. So Katarina Prokopenko is the wife of Denis Prokopenko. But besides being the wife of Denis Prokopenko, she's also an incredible activist. Katarina has been advocating for Azov POWs to be released when her husband was in captivity, and still advocates for them today, because a lot of people don't know, but there are still 800 Azov regiment servicemen in Russian captivity, and they are, as we have seen, treated much worse than any other captives in Russia. They're also tortured much more. They're starved much more. They're being treated in a whole different spectrum of awful as compared to everyone else. So Katarina has been very vocal in her support and her sort of push to free those POWs. And she has been an incredible activist. She's an illustrator. She's been painting a lot of she's been illustrating a lot of beautiful sort of visuals to communicate her messages, and she has been running marathons in support of Azov Regiment and stuff like that. And she was in DC along with some other freed Azov servicemen when her husband was still in captivity, advocating for the American government to push to release them and stuff like that. And so I might have an opportunity to interview Katarina. And so I want to ask you what kind of questions you would be interested in me asking her. But before you guys answer, I want to preface it. I don't want this interview to be about her husband. I don't want this interview to be about her feelings about her husband being in captivity. I want this interview to be about her and what she has done. Because the fact of the matter today is that after that giant exchange of POWs on September 22nd, when 215 of them were released and most of them were Azov, every exchange since, there have been 265 people exchanged since September 22nd, and only 4 of them are from the Azov regiment. You would think that maybe people who were in Azovstal are not being exchanged altogether, but that's not true, because since then, 265 people have been exchanged. 111 of them are from Azovstal, and only 4 of them are Regiment Azov. Because all of the online famous Azov regiment servicemen that made a lot of noise online about themselves have been freed, people don't care anymore. People don't push for them anymore. People don't advocate for them anymore. People stopped pressing. And so obviously Russia wants to keep as many Azov POWs as possible, because Azov is what feeds their narrative of like Satanists and Yazis and whatever in Ukraine. So those guys are already less likely to be exchanged. And now that the big hype to free the Azov POWs has kind of withered, and Matro Orest Kozatsky has been freed, Redis has been freed, Gandalf has been freed, Frost has been freed, Ptashka has been freed. Now people don't push for Azov anymore. And so I want to talk to Katarina, and I want her to tell you her experience of the difficulties that she might have faced in advocating for Azov, the prejudice, the stereotypes that she had to break through, sort of like what her experience was like, what did she do, what she considers to be an effective way to speed up the process, to change the situation. So in the realm of that, what would you guys be interested? Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you, Natlin. I love that whale. It's so pretty. The whale is so beautiful. Okay, there is this like animated gift on TikTok, and it's the whale, and it's really pretty. So I just got a whale. The whale is beautiful. But, but so yes, so what I want to find out is, what kind of questions would you want me to ask Katarina, knowing that this is not about Redis, and knowing that this is not about her feelings about her husband being in captivity, but rather the amazing work that she has done, because I think people also have a very hard time separating her as an incredible activist. As an incredible activist and as an incredible woman made out of steel, from the fact that she is just Denis's wife. So this interview, I would want it to be about her and about things that you would want to know about her and everything that she has done. So please let me know if there is anything that you guys would want to know, because I'm going to be assembling my list of questions that I have for her. And you please let me know whether you have any questions that you would want me to ask her. Basically, yes. Because today I'm going to be assembling a full list of things that I have in mind. Basically. Well, so Nomad Cat is asking, what is her background and what helped prepare her for activism? So she's an illustrator, and she wasn't really, like an activist. I mean, she, as every Ukrainian, was trying to post things about Ukraine and sort of tell the world what's happening. But she was also, her husband was in captivity, and her husband is the commander of Azov regiment. So he, was in the highest danger. So I think she naturally became an activist because she wanted to see her husband alive, and because she wanted to see her friends alive. But yeah, I will ask her. And then Gianmarco says, how did she manage everything psychologically? Okay, that's good. What happened after they evacuated from Azovstal? Red Cross was supposed to be there. Where are they? They weren't. Red Cross wasn't there, but that's wide known information based on all of the other interviews. What NGOs has she found to actually be helpful? That's actually a great question, because I want to ask her the same thing. How does she view Ukrainian victory? Okay. Fortunately, the main squad of Azov will be freed the last. Well, so someone's saying, Aaron is saying, unfortunately, the main squad of Azov will be freed the last, but that's not true, because the main squad of Azov has been freed. Like, Kalina has been freed, Redis has been freed, and he's commander of the regiment. The main squad of Azov, the guys who were famous or known or, talked about, they have been freed already. So that's the whole problem, is that, the main squad has been freed. So everyone now conveniently forgot about the fact that there are still 800 Azov Regiment servicemen in captivity, and Russia refuses to exchange them. So that's the whole thing. And that's something that I was saying when I saw that when I saw so when I saw when I saw that they were exchanged, one of the first things I said to you guys is that one of the main things that I said to you guys is that I'm scared that the activism is going to stop, and they're going to stop being exchanged. Then also, is the commander back in Ukraine? Netlin is asking. No, he's not. He is in Turkey, and that was one of the conditions of the exchange, is that the commanders are going to stay in Turkey. They're going to have to stay in the Turkey. They're going to have to stay in Turkey because no one wants them to be like in touch with Ukraine, and they should stay away from the warfare until the war is over. And then Brandy is asking a question of, she lived in Mariupol, how did she get out? So she didn't live in Mariupol, she lived in Kyiv. She would visit Redis in Mariupol when he would be stationed there, so she didn't have to get out. She was in Kyiv when that happened. So yeah. There is that. But I will write down these questions, and I will see which ones will work in context to ask her how she sees future of Ukraine after the war is won. Yeah, I will ask her that. Another thing is that I think one of the biggest things that we want to talk about is mostly surrounded around the regiment Azov, and sort of like what has been going on, and with the captivity, and with how they have been so mistreated as opposed to other people and things like that. So I think we want to focus on how to help Azov, and sort of breaking myths about Azov and stuff like that. So I will be writing down these questions. I will be writing all of your questions down. Hi, Ava. Thank you so much. And also Aaron was saying, not all of them. The family I sent you today on Instagram, they were part of Azov since 2014. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying the main squad as in like, as in people, some people matter more than the others. I'm just saying that, because Redis has been freed, and because Kalina has been freed, and they're like, in high positions there, and because all of the guys who have made noise online have been freed, I feel like that's what was considered sort of like the main squad by most of the people in the West, because those were the most well-known guys. And now it is much more difficult sort of to free the rest, because people don't know anything about them, and it's one of those things where we can't necessarily say a lot about them either, because we don't want to reveal their identities, and we don't want to say too much or something that could hurt them. Relevance, wish I did, so I look forward to the interview. Any chance of a follow-up after the interview is published? I mean, so Conti, this interview is not necessarily, it's like hard to explain. I don't think there's going to be a follow-up interview after the interview is published, because we're not necessarily going to get to know sort of like very intricate things. We're going to get to know who Katarina is, and we're going to sort of, talk about her activism and her work, but we're also going to kind of find out what we can do from her that could be of use or of help. But what I think I might be able to do is maybe I could send her questions as a follow-up that she could answer in writing, and I could sort of do like, a little follow-up short about it or something like that. because she's also incredibly busy, and she's doing a lot, and she's just such an incredible woman. Honestly, I've been wanting to speak to her for such a long time because I think she'd be so helpful in clearing up certain stereotypes and clearing up certain ideas and sort of in guiding us on what to do, because she has done a lot, and she is one of the organizers of the Azovstal family support. She is one of the organizers of all of these of the demonstrations in support of the people who were extracted to Russia from Azovstal. She's done so much. So yeah, let me grab a blanket because it's so freaking freezing in my apartment for the past couple of days. I can't deal with it. It's been so bad. Wait, I'm just gonna grab this because I want something that will give me. I want something that will give me kind of, some warmth. It's been incredibly cold outside, and also it's been incredibly cold inside. And for some reason, my heating is not up to par yet, and so my apartment has been like an Antarctic freezer. So yeah. Yeah, Azov reputation. So Kalahari says, "Oh yeah, would be interesting to know if Azov bad propaganda reputation still is prevalent in the West." Yes, in large numbers. One of the reasons why I filmed interviews with Torque is because I wanted people to see who Azov regiment servicemen are. Because at some point, I saw a lot of people being like, "Oh my gosh, yes, well they did incredible work in Mariupol, but." They're still far right, like extremists or something like that. And to me, it was ridiculous because people would be fully acknowledging the tremendous things that they have done to save Mariupol, and then would be like, "Oh, but they're far right extremists," and it's like, they're not, like they're absolutely not. And the people met them through this only through the portrayal of them by Russian propaganda, and no one really knows who the real Azov servicemen are or why they joined the regiment. So yeah, so that's been something that I've been working on. Okay, so Gianmarco says Azov were extremists. No, they're not. That's not true. That's not true, and it's only partially true, but it's a misleading statement. Azov was formed off of volunteers who wanted to take back their cities and protect their cities from the Russian invasion. They weren't a group of far-right extremists. There were a couple of people, particularly the person who organized them all together, who has been linked to some far-right views. Not a great guy. Nobody's saying anything about him. Nobody's trying to justify him. But he didn't organize Azov as a far-right extremist group. He organized Azov as a group of volunteers to counter the Russian invasion. Now, he had his own beliefs. Some of his friends who joined Azov with him also had those beliefs. But this group was never had done anything that was far right extreme, never expressed any ideas like that, never was meant for that ideology to be spread to the masses. That it's kind of like, if this guy who's a far right extremist made a bakery, would you call that bakery a far right extremist bakery? No. And I understand that it's hard to draw that conclusion. It's hard to draw that parallel because it was an armed militia group when it was formed, but it wasn't formed with an ideology. The ideology, it just happened so that the guy who was in charge of it had that ideology, but he just had all of these connections and knew how to organize people. He was just like a good organizer, basically, and not a great person. But then they were depoliticized from that. And there are lots of people in Azov who joined Azov very early on who don't hold these political beliefs and again, it was never a politically driven or motivated organization. It was like a self-governed battalion that was created to counter the invasion of Russia. And then Russia took it and was like, oh, this guy is far right, so it's a far right militia unit. But they were never a far right militia unit. There were some people who held far right beliefs, but they were never there to serve with a purpose of spreading the far right beliefs. So yeah, hi guys, hi Nico. Yeah, so that's like the thing. There is, like, Kalahara says, yeah, where is the evidence of extremism? All I see is stuff about their insignia. So annoying. So here's the thing. There is not a single report of Azov doing something wrong or damaging to people in Ukraine or to Russian-speaking people in Ukraine or to anyone. There is only reports of them being an effective combat unit, right? Before they were made the official unit of the National Guard and after. And if they were a far-right extremist militia, then there would be reports of them doing things, right? Especially under our president at the time, Viktor Yanukovych, right? Who is pro-Russian. And so under his watch, these, where is the statistic of crime committed by Azov? Or like hate crime or anything like that, right? There isn't, because they've never done anything like that. So you can't just say, oh, they're a far-right extremist militia on wards, when they have never done anything to solidify the status of being far-right extremist militia. As in, there has never been anything of that nature present in the battalion other than a couple of members of the at that time militia, or rather self-governing unit, combat unit, right? Who held those beliefs but never acted upon them within the regiment. So yeah, there is that. And I think it's a very important distinction, because people very often say, like, oh, Azov was far right and now it's not. But again, it's not true. There were far right members in Azov, but there are also far right members in the American military, yet no one calls the entirety of the American military, a far right organization. There are, far right members in the German military, yet no one like deems the whole military a far right organization. So it's just kind of like, it's not necessarily true. And it's a very important distinction, because Azov was never far right militia. Russian propaganda deemed it a far right militia. Azov was created as a defense unit to protect and to liberate cities from the Russian invasion. And it was created as a reaction to the Russian invasion from the very beginning. And yeah, and they've never had like a political leaning. The reason why they were depoliticized to begin with is for the internet, like, as in, like, all of these members were booted and it was like depoliticized because it needed to be done to show the West, right? But in reality, they never needed to be depoliticized, because there was never really politics behind it like that. It's just that, the members that had really like vocal far right beliefs, sure, had to be removed if they wanted to be National Guard. But the depoliticizing of Azov was quite literally like just, just like something that needed to be publicly done for PR, right? For PR reasons, but actually didn't have any reason to be done because it wasn't there to begin with. So that's kind of like the thing. But yeah, they were never far right militia. They were militia, but they were never far right militia. So yeah, there is that. Oh, hi. Thank you for your service. Oh my gosh, of course there is a person with no profile picture. Of course there is a person with, let me see. So there is a person with no profile picture who barely has any followers or anything, and sent a link to Ukraine fatal attack Roma settlement. Sure. From HRW.org news from 2018. And of course, it's going to be an article that's supposed to implicate Azov in like attacking somebody. Yeah. So Right. Of course, there is always a person with no profile picture who has all the answers. um. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, German. I don't I'm not looking for fans, but I'm hoping that I'm helpful in in spreading the correct information about my country. But thank you. It's very good to hear that people in Ukraine are watching me. Okay, so with that said, we are on a 30-minute mark of chatting, and we are going to go into the news about Ukraine in the past 24 hours. Also, hi. Uh, so Polly's on YouTube says Russian bots are working hard. See, that's the thing. Russian bots are not working hard enough because like they're so easily recognizable. Like they're doing a terrible job of being undercover agents. Technically, Russian bots are supposed to be undercover agents, right? They're doing a horrendous job at trying to present themselves as like Americans or Germans or whoever they're trying to impersonate. They're doing a horrific job. So they're not really working really hard. They're not working hard at all. And that's what makes it so easy to differentiate them from just like a new account or from somebody who's not really using TikTok much. And it's funny because I feel like, I've like kind of cracked the code with what Russian bots try to do most of the time. Most of the time to kind of like appear as like the person they're trying to impersonate, right? They have these like little strategies. And one of the strategies is like they will make an account that follows 1,000 people or like 300 people, and they have 2 followers or something. And then they will have like videos of random dogs, but they're not one dog. They're like videos of random dogs. So they're like trying to present themselves as this like random American person who has an account about their like house in Texas and their dogs, right? But they're not the same dog. They're random dogs. Anyways, like I won't give out all of the information of how easy it is to tell a Russian troll, because I feel like I'm presenting them with a manual on how to do better, which I don't want to do. But I just want to tell them that like they are not as clever as they think they are and creating these like fake personas online, because it is incredibly easy to tell, especially on a video app, when all of your content comes from like random sources and it's not yours, because there's no consistency in it. And even if you were some random lady, let's say, who is like in, I don't know, in like Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? You're like, I understand what they were trying to say. They're like trying to be an average American who doesn't have like amazing video skills and just like posts like cute things from their like life and from their house, right? But the thing is, like, there is the right way to do that. And then there is like a Russian troll way to do that. And it's like, you're not going to appear to me like Margaret from Tulsa, Oklahoma, if you post a bunch of random videos from the internet of random dogs and random videos from the internet of random cities that you try to present as your backyard in Oklahoma. Like, it's not like, this is not how it works. And also, most people usually at some point at least will have their face in those videos repetitively, or their voice, or like their kids or somebody, and it's such an easy, like, I see what they have in mind with these, but I also see, but it's also not like quite there, it's ever so slightly suspicious. So yeah, I mean, hey, I give Russian trolls about 60, 45. I think if this was a test on how to appear American as a Russian troll, I think that none of them would actually pass with like even half a grade, or with like a passing-ish grade. I wouldn't give any of them more than like 45 out of 100 on it, because it's just really bad. Especially it's really bad when like trolls comment this stuff, right? And they will like follow 3,000 people and 40 people follow them back. It's like, okay, no one in their right mind follows 3,000 people. If you're trying to pose yourself as like a regular person, you're not going to follow 3,000 people. Like, how long do you have to be sitting on TikTok to follow 3,000 people? You have to follow absolutely everything that comes up on your FYP, right? And it's like, no one does that. No one's interested in that. So that's dead giveaway number one. I also absolutely love when like I will have comments from like brainwashed Russians who live abroad, but they're real people. So they're not trolls because they actually have real accounts and they live somewhere. Like I had this girl from Russia whose name is it was like not a Russian name either. Like it was like Tina or something. I mean, like it could have been anything, you know? And she had this account where she was just like this blonde girl in her maybe early 20s or like maybe like late teens, you know? And she was kind of doing dances and her account is old. Like it was created in 2018 or something like that. And she was trying to pose as an American who has nothing to do with Eastern Europe at all. And she was like commenting in some of my videos saying like, oh, well, but while like Ukraine is acting so sane right now, but like what happened to like the whole, so what you don't want to talk about the whole time that you've been like bombing the poor people in Donbass and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this sounds like a Russian troll. I went through like, I don't know, 40 maybe videos of this girl trying to like be like, it has to be just a Russian brainwashed person, right? And and I couldn't find anything. And then I literally like the 51st video was her and her babushka. Okay, and it literally says my babushka rates celebrity men and whether she would date them. And I was like, bingo. Your babushka moved here from the Soviet Union. You grew up in the United States. You are Russian. Your entire family is brainwashed, and that's what they told you. They told you that Ukraine has been bombing Donbass, and that's the narrative that you are spreading. And I have this like happen so often. I also have like random people trying to pretend to be Ukrainian and they say things like, oh, I hate Putin and I want him. So like, here's the thing. So this is what people say to me, right? So I have like random people trying to pretend to be Ukrainian and they say things like, oh, I really, really hate Putin and I want him to like not exist. But, you know, but Russian people are not to blame. Poor people, they're losing so much by moving from their home that they've always known to a different country, fleeing the war and stuff. Well, this is not something a Ukrainian person would write, right? And I go into their profiles, and again, these are still real people, but they have not a single post in support of Ukraine. So I know that you're not Ukrainian. They have not a single post in Ukrainian. They have not a single post about Ukraine in general. They will have posts in like other languages. They will have like posts traveling the world and it's like a blank profile, right? Like it's not a profile where you can tie somebody to like a specific country. So like they could be Ukrainian and that's the idea behind this troll account, right? But no, because you know that if you're Ukrainian and you are against Russia and you're against the war and you're against all of this stuff, like you'd be posting a lot of stuff about Ukraine. You'd post at least one thing about the invasion because you have family there. Like you're from there. If you say you're from Ukraine, then you know, like it affects you personally. So there is just like so many little like things that Russian trolls are like, oh, this is passable, like this is believable. And it's like, no, it's not. If you're a Ukrainian, not a single one of these Russian troll profiles that pretends to be Ukrainian, pretends to be American, pretends to be good, pretends to be bad, pretends to be whatever is believable because you have enough context to know that this is utter BS and it would never work that way. Thank you, Arifa. So it's like little things again, you know, it's like it's just not a thing. And also a lot of the times these profiles that try to pretend to be Ukrainian, you'll start speaking to them in Ukrainian and they'll continue talking to you in English. And it's like, okay, well, you're Ukrainian. Why can't you just answer in Ukrainian? Or if they start answering in Ukrainian, at some point, there is going to be a Google Translate flop. And you will know that they're translating from Russian to Ukrainian. And then they're going to tell you that when you call them out on it, they're going to tell you that they were born in the Eastern Ukraine and they don't know how to speak Ukrainian or that's why. And it's like, no, because you had to study Ukrainian at school either way and you would know how to, or you wouldn't have to Google translate it. Like you would still know how to write and read Ukrainian. You would just have a very hard time speaking sometimes. Because, you know, speaking is different than reading and writing, but you would not have issues and you would not need to Google translate Russian to Ukrainian. And even if you did, and like, let's say Google translated a word completely different from its meaning, completely different from its meaning, you would know that this is a wrong meaning because you'd be like, wait, that's not the right word, you know? So there is that. Yeah, there is like so many different there's so many different ways of there's so many different ways of telling a Russian troll trying to pretend to be Ukrainian or Western or something. Also, if you're looking to identify a bot who is hi Moldova, if you're looking to identify a bot and to see if they're like pretending to be American but they're actually like a Russian bot, they always have some incredibly like stereotypically American sounding things like Texas Eagle or like 50 states or like the red white and blue warrior or something like that. Like they think that the more like patriotic stuff they include into their nickname or into their handle, the more American they're gonna sound. It's always like simple Texas man, simple Alabama tractorist, like I don't know, Idaho potato lover. And it's like, and it's just like, okay, no one in their right mind who's from Idaho would give themselves a handle Idaho potato lover, or like no one who's from Texas would give themselves a handle being like simple Texas man, like it's hard for me to explain, but it's just so like you looked up Texas and you were like, what is Texas famous for? And you're like, ha, Texas cowboy, you know? So basically, yeah. So it's just like these super like incredibly American sounding things that are so American, it hurts. But to the point where you're like, okay, I don't think this would exist. If you'd be like, ew, like who would name themselves that? If you see, hi Texas, if you see someone's handle to be specifically like really trying to establish that they're from somewhere in America and you look at it and you're like, ew, why did they choose that? And they say like Russian propaganda, Russian troll, 100%, or like something questionable, 100% Russian troll. It's always something like incredibly like American appearing. They really try to be like, I'm American. Simple Texas man. Yeah, Alabama tractorist, okay? See, I'm a tractorist and I'm from Alabama. Okay? Yeah. So yeah. So yeah. So there is like a lot, there is a lot I think she's reaching for one answer to the whole problem. What am I reaching for? Please tell me what I'm reaching for. I'm explaining how to identify Russian trolls. Well, Russian trolls do want to appear like they're from the United States. Okay, so we're starting off. Oh, there are lots of videos today. Okay, so we're starting off strong with this video of a Ukrainian soldier who celebrated his 30th birthday in the trenches, and someone had recorded it on video, so take a look. So that was a quick little happy birthday, turned 30, there were balloons, there was a cake, and then it was done. And then back to the warfare he goes. Okay, Ukrainian civilians in Kyiv are still signing up to get basic military training. Look at what that looks at. Oh my gosh. Look at what that looks like.
Нормально дивись. Головне не ссать, помниш? Розтяни. Що це за, блядь? Що це за покемони? Чи підел? Ти куди прийшла, їб'я мать? Це не боясь. Типа ти на оленя пойдеш? Що це? Жири тузик діла, блядь. А де удочка, я не понял. Що це за? Хорошо. Олександр, калашмат мені.
Oh my god. Okay, so this one is oh my god. Have you seen a video of a Russian soldier asking the Russian government to swap him for the Ukrainian raccoon that Russia has stolen? If you haven't, this is the video, and this is the man who says, "My name is Oleg Makashev, a private, born in 1975. I'm from Novosibirsk, and I am asking the government of Russia to swap me for the Kherson raccoon." I mean, hey, to be fair, it's equal battlefield skills, I would say, between, your average Russian, what's his name, Oleg, and, the raccoon. I feel like they would be just as effective as each other on the battlefield. So I feel like that is a quite even exchange. No? No one else? I think it's a very even exchange. Okay. Ukrainian lowrider in a helicopter. Someone says you can't hide your accent. Well, I'm not trying to hide my accent, so I don't know. I don't know what your point is really. I love when, like, I think a lot of sometimes I'll get like Russian people coming onto my lives and they don't know what offensive thing to say to me. So they're gonna be like, you can't hide your accent. And I'm like, I'm not trying to hide my accent. I'm not offended by you saying that. I'm okay with that. I was born and raised in Ukraine, so yeah, it's not weird that I have an accent, Like, I'm not American, I'm a Ukrainian person. Or I feel like maybe these Russian people feel like they think that I am pretending to be American, to like feed you information, and then they're like, I can tell she's not American. And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to be American. Also, someone says if you're proud, you should use your mother tongue, not English. I do use my mother tongue very often. And the one thing that I don't do is I don't listen to random strangers tell me what I should be doing with my life. I'm using English because, if I spoke Ukrainian, none of the people in this audience would understand me. If you're so proud, if you're such a smartass, maybe you should start speaking Russian instead of English and not trying to pretend to be something you're not. Maybe you should just reveal yourself as who you are, and do things that way instead of trying to pretend to be an American who's trying to tell me what language to speak. Oh my god, KSVRG says, it's so funny how if you don't have a Ukrainian accent, you're a spy. But if you do, then that's the problem. Can they choose? Yeah, exactly. That's like the thing, I feel like I get two scenarios. One is you're a paid Biden CIA agent because you don't have an accent. How were you born and raised in Ukraine? If you don't have an accent, you sound American. And then like, oh, you don't sound American. You're not American. You have an accent. It's like, all right, so so I should just cease to exist in their understanding, right? Because no matter what I do, it's never good enough. Not that I'm trying to please Russian trolls, but okay, next on the docket, children play in the checkpoint they built themselves. The local school is destroyed, but they continue to study online. Druzhivka, Donetsk region, November 12th, 2022. So these are the kids. So they're learning remotely because, well, they can't go to school, but they can go to school online. And this is in the village of Druzhivka in the Donetsk region. And this is what their village looks like. And they are playing by the checkpoint they built themselves. So they have built, like, it's kind of crazy because like a lot of kids, well, they know what military checkpoints are, they know what happens at military checkpoints. So they play pretend that they're soldiers and they build checkpoints to play pretend. And that's like, so, it's crazy that kids have to go through that in their childhood where they have to play pretend a military checkpoint. Like, how incredibly sad is that this is the childhood of so many Ukrainian children. You're supposed to play with a soccer ball. You're supposed to play with dolls. You're supposed to play with the PS5. I don't know what modern children play with because, I'm too ancient to know what a modern, like, 10-year-old is interested in. But I know for damn sure it isn't playing pretend into a military checkpoint to let you pass or not let you pass. Russian soldier pretends to be unalived while a grenade falls behind his back. So he pretends like the grenade did that, but he is you can see him moving, but he is pretending like the grenade did its thing, which is an interesting strategy, Okay, the Prime Minister of Poland and Finland appealed to Ukrainians. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to download this appeal. I'm going to send it here, and I'm going to show it to you full screen, as you know we always do. Okay, so come on. It takes me a second usually. Okay. Oh my god. And Prime Minister of Finland is Sanna Marin, right? She is fantastic. I really like her, and she is an example to a lot of people around the world.
Ukraine on its fight against Russia. We are behind you, we are together with you when you are defending your own country, but also the European values.
Well, exactly. Well, like, you're fighting for your freedom, your sovereignty, but we feel so strongly that you fight also for European values, for European security and European future. And this is why you will always have our support, and this will not only be words, this will be deeds and facts.
So this is a very lovely thing to hear from them, because it's very nice, it's very nice that Finland has been supporting us incredibly, Poland has been supporting us incredibly, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Sanna Marin, I have like a personal woman crush on her because I think she is such a strong leader. She is such a smart, such an amazing, such an like educated, such a strong woman. There have been so many curveballs thrown at her to discredit her, and she just prevails in every one of them because she is incredible. And she deserves to be where she is. She is and she's a natural born leader. And it's kind of almost funny at this point how many people try to discredit her because of how much they know that she's exactly in the place where she should be, and she has a bright future ahead of her, and they're scared of her. That's it. She is fantastic. And she handles all of these like curveballs that go at her with such grace. The main news of the night: enemy shelling of Zaporizhzhia NPP on November 19th and 20th, called by IAEA one of the most intense. Some explosions occurred near reactors. Putin defends defense ministry attacks and supports independent publishing of military bloggers on Telegram to reach nationalist audience, reports the Institute for the Study of War. Germany offers Poland Patriot air defense systems for airspace security after last week's missile downing. Since the start of the full-scale war, Russia has lost at least 8,044 pieces of military equipment, Oryx analysts say, counting losses with photo and video evidence. According to British intelligence, the area near Svatova is likely to have become a more vulnerable operational flank for Russian troops. This is stated in the intelligence review of the British Ministry of Defense. Over the last 7 days, intense artillery exchanges have continued around the Svatova sector in Luhansk Oblast in northeastern Ukraine. As on other parts of the front, Russian forces continue to prioritize constructing defensive positions, almost certainly partially manned by poorly trained, mobilized reservists. With Russia's southwestern front line now more readily defendable along the east bank of the Dnipro River, the Svatova sector is likely now a more vulnerable operational flank of the Russian forces. As a significant population center within Luhansk Oblast, Russian leaders will highly likely see retaining control of Svatova as a political priority. However, commanders are likely struggling with the military realities of maintaining a credible defense, while also attempting to resource offensive operations further south in Donetsk. Both Russian defensive and offensive capability continues to be hampered by severe shortages of munitions and skilled personnel. In the temporarily occupied Makiyivka Donetsk region, fuel tanks caught fire on the territory of the oil depot. The occupiers call the cause of the fire an explosion. Elimination of the fire continues. Also, remember we talked about that fire in Moscow yesterday? Well, it's still burning. It still hasn't been put out. French President Emmanuel Macron has accused Russia of fueling anti-French propaganda in Africa to satisfy predatory ambitions in troubled countries where Paris has suffered military setbacks and wider loss of influence in recent years. This was reported by Reuters. So here's the thing. Russia now sees that Europe is not going to back away from Ukraine. So Russia is going to try and discredit Europe as well. So Russia is going to try and discredit European countries one by one in other spheres of influence to sort of undermine their influence altogether. And it's upsetting to see, but it's also, again, comical to see because basically, yeah, because this is an act of desperation more than anything. 7 people died in the fire in the center of Moscow. The cause of the fire in the warehouse was identified by Russian authorities as improper storage of goods and violation of fire safety rules. So I'm surprised that they didn't say it was a smoking accident as per usual, but apparently now it's an improper storage of goods and violation of fire safety rules. Okay, so that's likely that one of the largest fires in a warehouse in the center of Moscow would have been caused by improper storage of goods. Especially, you know, I love that they're not saying what that warehouse was carrying inside. Today is the Day of Dignity and Freedom in Ukraine. It is a holiday in honor of the beginning of the Orange Revolution in 2004 and the Revolution of Dignity in 2013. Russians shelled the civilian infrastructure of Kherson. There are wounded civilians. They are already receiving medical assistance. First Deputy Chairman of the Regional Council, Sobolevsky. Oh my gosh. Also, before I talk a little bit about the Orange Revolution, I am going to show you how Russian propagandists are coping with understanding what's happening and understanding their setbacks on Russian TV, because I've been playing a lot of segments like this. I'm happy that that Ukrainians putting subtitles onto Russian TV propaganda, you know, because it really, really helps to sort of show you what they really think and what their like ideas are like, because it's hard to translate these huge segments on the go, as they're usually like more than 3 minutes, but it's fantastic to have a source to show you what is going on Russian state TV. So here we go. Enjoy.
Зачем делает это сегодня Россия? Ну, то есть, я не знаю, говорили у вас в этой студии или нет, но, конечно, мы понимаем прекрасно, что Россия в данный момент не желает, не хочет, а может быть не может, предположим, вести тотальную войну до победы. Тотальную, катастрофическую, прямую как каток войну, которая должна завершиться пресловутой денацификацией, демилитаризацией и подписанием капитуляции. Поэтому она таким образом склоняет Киев политически к переговорам. Как мне кажется, то есть это, по-моему, это совершенно очевидно. Она склоняет Зеленского к переговорам, он переговаривать не хочет.
А так просто для понимания, мы о чем хотим договориться с Зеленским?
Мы хотим начать переговорный процесс.
С Зеленским?
С Зеленским, безусловно, переговорный процесс о том...
Хотя мы сами говорим, что он не субъектен и мало что решает вообще.
Не поделано. Иначе бы наш МИД и иные инстанции не повторяли бы бесконечно, не воспроизводили эти мантры о том, что мы хотим немножко попереговариваться. Вот, я понимаю, что стратегически нам важно затянуть ситуацию. Нам важно. Понятно же, что... К наступательным действиям мы не готовы. Для того, чтобы наступать всерьез, нам, конечно, нужно вдвое увеличить группировку, как минимум, и так далее. То есть, вот этими обстрелами, вот там тем нашим гражданам, которые особенно этому сильно радуются, патриотам, уважаемым мной, вот этими обстрелами войну не побеждают. То есть, вы должны сами понимать, мы так не победим Киев, не склоним его к капитуляции. Это имеет исключительно узконаправленный смысл принудить их к переговорам.
Хотя раньше, вот буквально еще вчера, мы ждали возвращения в Херсон и до сих пор ждем, а еще чуть раньше, в сентябре, в Харьковскую область. То есть, таким образом, мы согласны зафиксироваться по Днепру в той части, в которой Херсонская область.
Увы, на какое-то время явно согласны. Я предположить дальнейших планов не могу, но вот эти, они слишком прозрачны, чтобы они вслух не произнесли.
Но просто не все это признают.
Все это признают.
И не готовы признавать
Никто это
многие.
не признает.
Дай
Надо
бог, чтобы
признать
я
на
ошибался,
официальном уровне,
тут
конечно.
очевидно. Но, понимаете, как начинались первые и вторые Минские переговоры, еще промежуточные переговоры, они начинались в результате жестких воинских побед. Я думаю, что если российская страна реально хочет переговоров, она, конечно, должна понимать, что одними только вот этими ударами нашими замечательными мы к переговорам их не склоним. Для этого нужна еще подкрепляющая военная победа.
А вы за что? Вы описываете
Понятно,
гипотетическую позицию российской власти.
Я же не...
Варшава.
Да нет, не надо Варшаву. Нет, не надо, конечно, не надо Варшаву, но все понятно, чего мы хотим там, да, и чего я хочу. Надо это повторять, наверное, всякий раз. Конечно, я за снос политической системы в Киеве, за смену Зеленского, за юридическое наказание для всех людей, совершивших насилие над Украиной и сделавших из нее реально неонацистскую квазигосударственность. Это очевидно, но мы исходим из реальности. Вот в реальности надо понимать, что они будут вымораживать свое население и никогда не будут его жалеть. Они не пойдут на переговоры на эти. Мы сейчас еще через неделю, еще через 2, еще через какое-то время опять их закидаем, опять все погаснет, а он не будет переговариваться все равно. Вот, то есть это те вещи, которые очевидны, которые надо проговорить, наверное, вслух, потому что чудо не произойдет.
Мы к чему призываем? Закидать больше, круче?
Как это говорится, доброе слово плюс пистолет, кольта, да, весит больше. Уничтожение энергетической структуры плюс военное поражение, конечно, весит больше. Но желательно, чтобы она была окончательным, потому что, наверное, последнюю мысль надо говорить, потому что все равно придется довоевывать. Даже если мы заключим сейчас перемирие, нам неизбежно придется довоевывать эту историю до конца. Семе Хасавюрт 1997 года. Вот ровно та же история перед нами стоит, но я думаю, что все это понимают. Конечно, не мы такие одни умные. Понятно, что вот мы стоим перед очередным каким-то Хасавюртом, который придется потом доделать до финала.
Все боятся при этом Минска-3. Страшно опасаются.
Дело в том, что...
И главное, в чем выгода для Зеленского сейчас заключать соглашение, если у него все так неплохо идет.
Зеленскому не выгодно, конечно же.
So yeah, basically, I feel like they have nothing to really talk about on Russian TV because they have no victories or no like incredible news to share with their viewers, you know, so they resort to basically talking about these random things, and they resort to kind of asking each other questions and being like, oh, and kind of, but see, like, you would think that maybe they are just like talking and this makes no sense, right? But every time they introduce these points of Russia like being weak, or of Russia not handling the situation, or Russia not being able to like bring in the victory they're able to bring in, you would think that maybe it's the freedom of speech and these guys are getting disappointed in Russia, and they're sort of like, and they're sort of trying to they're just trying to express their opinion. No, what they are realistically doing there is they're introducing the concept, because I think that they see, well, it's impossible. You need to be blind. You need to be like completely, you know, blind to logic, common sense, and critical thinking to an enormous extent to not see that Russia is losing, and there is absolutely no way that Russia can climb out of this rabbit hole. And clearly Ukraine is going to win. The question is just of time, right? And Russia fully understands that. It's just that they can't afford to give up. So these replicas and these people introducing the concept of Russia maybe not handling it as well as Russia says it is and stuff like that, they're not doing it because they're actually like sort of, you know, it's freedom of speech and they're just trying to argue and like introduce these concepts and have a healthy debate. No, they're doing it to put the seed into the head of the Russian public, right? Because if Russians keep saying like, oh, we're doing so well, we're doing so well, we're doing so well, we're winning here, we're winning there, we're winning there, then when they lose, the public is outraged, right? Oh, well, in a Russian sense, because we know that that outrage really doesn't lead to anything but just like, you know, extra little problems that the Russian government has to deal with. But of course, they're just preparing the public for the fact that Russia might be losing. And before that, they've been conditioning the public to think that Russia is at war with NATO, not with Ukraine. And with all of these modern technologies and with all of these things that Russia obviously can't battle, because it's not just little country of Ukraine that they're at war with, it's the whole of NATO. So obviously Russia would have bigger problems on the battlefield. So it's all strategic. None of it really appears to be any freedom of speech. It just appears to be like a conditioning mechanism for the future. So when it does happen, it's not such a big shock to the public. That is kind of what it is. So I just wanted to, oh, thank you so much, Vitaly. So I just wanted to like clarify that, because I think that especially in the West, we're really not used to these things. Thank you so much, Vitaly. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh my God, so many hearts. Thank you. But so, you know, I think that because in the West, we're so not used to this kind of thing, and we're so not used to sort of that being the reality, that I think that we might see it from a different perspective. We might see it from a perspective of like, oh, these propagandists are getting tired and that's why they're saying this, and they're finally kind of like seeing what's happening, and some of them are waking up. Like, none of them are waking up. They're making money. They're making money off of saying this. They're making money off of spreading these narratives. They're doing this consciously and deliberately. This is not like an accident by any means. Okay, under a bed and deoccupied, he was wounded in the battles and abandoned, so he decided to hide. Okay, so this is a video of a soldier under the name Misha. He's from Moscow region. Our soldiers found him under the bed in the deoccupied territory. He was wounded in the battles and abandoned, so he decided to hide under the bed. So his comrades abandoned him.
Миша зовут, да, тебе? Дали покурить, покушать. Вот. Миша с Подмосковья, да? С ногами печалька. Ну, ладно, кушай. Нашли раненого.
So basically they fed him, and they gave him cigarettes. And his name is Misha. He's from like the suburbs of Moscow, and he apparently has really bad wounds on his legs, because that's what the soldier commented. He said everything is really sad with his legs. And so instead of, evacuating him and bringing him to medical attention, his comrades from his unit of the armed forces of Russia basically left him over there to most likely wait for his demise. He couldn't move, and he was hiding under the bed, and Ukrainian soldiers found him. They fed him, and obviously they're going to take him as a POW, and they're going to bring him all of the necessary medical attention. Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto said that the government will ask the parliament to adopt a new law on military and civilian supplies to Ukraine in 2023. Thus, it will be able to independently decide what and when to send to Ukraine without asking permission from the parliament. The current law expires at the end of 2022. Thank you, Vitaly. And so this is basically, in my understanding, a sort of an Italian lend-lease. Losses of the Russian occupiers in Ukraine amount to 84,600 personnel. Okay, so a detailed description of the current situation at the front lines is as follows. The Ukrainian army has pushed back the Russians from the right bank of Kherson, and now the Russian army is moving its troops to other directions. Ukraine has also released a significant part of its forces and is also regrouping. At the same time, Russians have increased the intensity of the offensive in Donbass. They attack Ukrainian positions about 100 times a day. The further course of the war will depend on who will move and prepare new attacks. Kharkiv region for several weeks. Sorry. Where did I prepare new attacks? Let me see. Okay, Kharkiv region. For several weeks, the fighting in Kharkiv region has been mostly positional. Ukrainian troops are not trying to advance in the northwestern direction towards the Russian border to completely liberate Kharkiv region. They're trying to advance along the Kupinsk-Svatova road to reach Svatova itself from the north, or to cut the road between it and Troitske in Luhansk region. So basically, instead of liberating that last little tiny piece of Kharkiv, because it really poses no danger or offensive capabilities, they're trying to move over to Luhansk. Donbass. Ukrainian defense forces continue to put pressure on the Russians on the border of Svatova and Kreminna in Luhansk region. The occupiers are trying to restrain the offensive with mobilized troops and constantly throw them to the front line. As a result, their losses are significantly increasing, but the Ukrainian offensive is slowing down. The defense forces cannot attack further until the territory is completely cleared. And the Russians are bringing new fighters to their positions again and again. They're also trying to attack Ukrainian positions to push the defense forces away from the Svatova-Kreminna road, but to no avail. So basically what they're trying to do is, like, they fully understand that the mobilized people that they have in the Russian military right now are completely combat incapable, and they are cannon fodder. And so what they're doing is they understand that they can militarily stop the Ukrainian advance from progressing, but what they can do is they can just slow it down by throwing bodies at it. And so that's what they're doing. They're throwing in lots of mobilized troops to slow down the offensive, and that is succeeding because it's annoying. It's annoying for the Ukrainian military because they can't move forward. They just have to keep eliminating the occupying forces and basically wasting ammunition on them. But these forces pose no danger other than just being a slowing down force. And that's the only thing that sort of is helping Russia right now kind of hold the Ukrainian offensive. Head of the permanent delegation of Ukraine to the NATO PA, Yehor Chernyov, says, NATO Parliamentary Assembly recognized Russia as a terrorist state today. All 30 NATO countries supported the proposal of our delegation. The Assembly called for the establishment of the Special International Tribunal to punish Russian criminals. So as I was saying in the beginning of the stream, this is very big news. And finally, and not only does it change a lot on the international level, it also changes a lot on the level of activism about on the misinformation front, because people like me now are supposed to be legally able to say Russia is a terrorist state. without TikTok or YouTube or Twitch or anybody flagging this video for hate speech, controversial subjects, or bullying or harassment, because it is now recognized as a terrorist state by NATO. Same as if I were to say ISIS is a terrorist organization, Russia is a terrorist state, and both of those things are recognized. China is not in NATO. So someone's asking, how did China vote? China is not in NATO. The next on the docket is going to be the 23rd of, hi Finland. The next on the docket is going to be the 23rd of November, and that is going to be the vote of Europarliament. So if Europarliament recognizes Russia as a terrorist state, then that is that. So we are really hoping that that is going to happen, because that is going to make it even more accredited, and is going to make that statement carry even more weight. So here is a quote from the Maidan Revolution, or Revolution of Dignity, that started in 2013 because our president decided to decided to bond us with Russia instead of continuing on the European path, and he lied to our people. So here is a quote of an activist. So this is what a lot of Western tankies, for instance, call a coup. But here is a quote from one of the early activists from the Maidan Revolution. He says, "I came here to defend my future. Our government crossed out the future of Ukraine and the aspirations of Ukrainian youth. I came here to defend my future, the future of my children and compatriots and my country." So November 2013, this is one of the early activists at the start of Maidan Revolution. And this is what a lot of pro-Russian sources are calling a Western NATO orchestrated illegal military coup or armed coup. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's absolutely not true, and it's a farce of a statement. A farce of a statement, because these are students, and these are students who came out on the streets without any orchestration to protect their values, which were European, not reversing back to Soviet Union 2.0. You know, I remember that when this started, when Yanukovych decided to back out of the Euro integration and to go and try to sign like the CSTO deal with Russia, every single one of us, which we were the Ukrainian youth, was saying, this is Soviet Union 2.0. We don't want that. And so that was the general idea around the country. We understood that signing anything in partnership with Russia would bring us to Soviet Union 2.0, and we didn't want that. So there didn't have to be any Western intervention for us to come out on the streets and say, this is not what we want. So Armin over here on YouTube is asking, do you think Russia might propose to pull back their forces to the Crimean Peninsula in exchange for peace talks? If they did so, do you think Ukraine would accept that and begin peace talks? It's possible, but no, Ukraine would not accept that and begin any peace talks, because peace is impossible unless Russia leaves Crimea as well. And also, if Russia just pulls back their forces to Crimea and it's not completely annihilated on the battlefield, then they're just going to regroup and attack again. And our goal is not to push Russia to Crimea, because Russia should not be in Crimea. We're going to liberate every single inch of our territory, and we're going to liberate all of our people, including Crimea, not just the eastern and southern Ukraine. So no, it would be, the answer on that would be harsh no. And we've put forth our terms of negotiations, and the terms clearly state Russia out of all Ukrainian territory, not just the territory they might want to leave. Spanish police to come to Ukraine to help investigate war crimes in Russia, Prime Minister of Spain at the NATO Parliamentary Assembly in Madrid. Hey, can you please, can you not? Thank you. New Zealand has expanded sanctions against Russia and Belarus, the New Zealand foreign minister reports. The sanctions include Putin's daughters, Peskov's wife, and children, the head of the Central Bank of Russia, and Lukashenko's son and wife. The list also includes other members of the elite. Norway to finance gas purchases for Ukraine for 200 million, says Reuters. Oh, thank you, Vitaly. The funds, part of a previously announced package, will come through the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Poland wants to deploy Patriot offered by Germany near the border with Ukraine, Defense Minister Mariusz Blaszczak. Russian President Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov said that the change of power in Ukraine is not the goal of the so-called special military operation. Oh, really, is it not? Because I remember so clearly that on the 24th of February, you thought that Kyiv was going to fall in 3 days, and you thought that you were going to overthrow the Zelensky regime. And also, I wonder if you call it the Zelensky regime, so you're putting a negative connotation onto it. Then how is the change of power not your goal if you've also put out, 15 hits on Zelensky to date? He's survived 15 attempts at his life at this point. At the briefing, Peskov was also asked to comment on Zelensky's words that Moscow does not seek peace, but seeks negotiations with the Ukrainian Authority to get a breather. He replied, Russia wants to achieve its goals, and it will achieve them. So this man says, no, this is not what we are after. We just want peace. And then he's being asked. It's like funny to me because Russians, their answers don't even make sense. Like their propaganda is so strong and they're so used to like not making sense, but just spewing stuff that they don't even filter. So basically, let me break this down to you. He's asked what they're trying to do, right? He says, oh, we're not trying to change the government in Ukraine. We just have the goals of our special military operation and we want peace. So then he's being asked, well, so Zelensky says that you're not looking for peace, you're looking for a breather. And this guy goes, we want to achieve our special military operation goals and we will achieve them. And their special military operation goal was not peace. It was denazification, desatanization, getting rid of nuclear mosquitoes, getting rid of nuclear pigeons, basically invading the country and changing the Zelensky's regime, right? So make it make sense to me. He says something and then contradicts himself not even a sentence later, like in the next sentence. Israel is ready to respond if Iran provides Russia with ballistic missiles. The Israeli state media corporation Khan, citing the words of the head of the National Security Council, Eyal Hulat, reports that Israel may provide Ukraine with ballistic missiles in response if Iran supplies Russia with its own. That's actually big because Israel, up until very recently, wasn't willing to give Ukraine a lot and wasn't really willing to help Ukraine. They were willing to sort of like intervene in Iran that would help Ukraine, but they honestly weren't really they weren't really supplying a lot of military aid to Ukraine. 1 second. Sid, hey, come here. Come here, Sid. Come here. Sid, the one. Come here. Come here. Good girl. Okay, lay down. You're making these, my life with you is just like a sequence of incredible gargling noises. And I get it. You're a gargoyle, you're a gremlin. I call you all of these things for a reason, but at the same time, like Sin, seriously, sometimes it's just nice to have it quiet and you don't always have to like incessantly be like eating your body parts. It's crazy. Okay, come here. Okay, come here. Yeah, come. Yeah, so this is my doggy. Hello. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. Yes, lay down. Lay down and just, watch the news with me. Or rather, read the news with me. Okay. Luxembourg hands over HMMWV to Ukraine. Minister of Defense of Luxembourg, François Barre. Luxembourg is also considering the possibility of providing Ukraine with 155mm artillery ammunition and drones. So these are what Luxembourg had provided to Ukraine. Oh, hi, Zach. Oi. Yes, hi. What's up? What's up, Sin? Sin wants to be the co-anchor and the co-host of the news today. On November 20th, Russian citizen Yulia Prokhorova, who insulted Ukrainian refugees and recorded her provocations on video, was deported from Germany. You might remember this woman. She's been doing things like this, coming to Ukrainian protests wearing a Russian flag, and she's been very rude. She's harassed Ukrainian refugees over and over. She's been posting like ridiculous, harmful videos on her social media and in her Telegram chats, basically telling Russians to use more electricity and use more gas, so Germany would have to buy more gas and electricity from Russia, like kind of things that actually don't make sense. But sort of like, you know, doing all of these incredibly like harmful things, like just overusing gas, overusing water, overusing heat for no reason. You know, she's just like this. She's been doing a lot of harmful stuff, and she's also actually been harassing Ukrainian refugees. And so on November 20th, she has been deported from Germany. This is her at the airport. This is one of her harassing videos. So this is her being deported, and there have been like rumors before that she had been deported, but now it is confirmed, and that's actually very good news, because, you know, this is one of the things that I think European nations should be doing, is that Russians who are doing these very harmful things, who are harassing Ukrainian refugees, who are doing these illegal things and these gross things and just like morally incredibly wrong things, specifically to like trigger a reaction and to make fun of like somebody who has deep trauma, they should be deported. Okay, Ukraine is much better prepared for war in the winter than its enemy, says US Pentagon chief. We have done a lot to prepare Ukrainians to fight in the winter and enable them to continue to put pressure on our adversaries during the winter months. Now she can scream in Russia. Well, yeah, if she loves Russia so much, then why isn't she in Russia, you know? Like, there are no bombs flying there. She can easily go and enjoy her homeland. I don't know why she was so adamant on staying in Germany. European Commission is exploring legal options to confiscate Russian assets to rebuild Ukraine, says Politico. In total, it is planned to seize almost 300 billion of frozen Russian assets and income of individuals and legal entities included in the EU sanctions list. Occupiers struck again at deoccupied Kherson. A missile hit an apartment, resulting in civilian casualties, Office of the President of Ukraine reports. A military operation in the silence mode continues in the Kinburn Spit in Mykolaiv region, where the occupiers concentrated their forces, the spokeswoman of the press center for the Operation South, Natalia Humanyuk. The success of the armed forces will be reported as soon as the military operation is completed, she added. A plaque dedicated to the founder of the World Central Kitchen charity organization, Jose Andres, appeared near the Verkhovna Rada in Kyiv. Today, he visited Kyiv and met with President Zelensky. So as you remember, there is Kyiv's own Alley of Fame, and the Alley of Fame is sort of like the alley of gratitude to all of our strongest partners. And there are, I believe Nancy Pelosi has a plaque there. I know Boris Johnson has one. And now it's Jose Andres. There are quite a few renowned people that have been helping Ukraine quite a lot that have their own plaque there. In the Carpathian region, the mother of the legendary fighter pilot, hero of Ukraine, Stepan Tarabalka, who died in the war, has set up a health center for the military. Psychiatrists, psychologists, and rehabilitation specialists will now work here to restore the military. Stepan Tarabalka became the hero of Ukraine posthumously. During the first day of the war, he managed to destroy 6 enemy aircrafts, Su-27, MiG-29, 2 Su-35, and 2 Su-25. Then the Ukrainian ace on his MiG-29 brought the number of destroyed aggressor aircraft to 40. The fighter pilot died at the age of 29 on March 13th in the skies over Zhytomyr. On April 29, 2022, the British edition of the Times published an article in which it called Ukrainian pilot Stepan Tarabalka the ghost of Kyiv. Okay, so this is the center that they have set up in the Carpathian Mountains. You know, nothing incredibly fancy, but it's going to get there. But they put a lot of love and effort into it, and it's amazing. NASAM's air defense systems shoot down 100% of Russian cruise missiles, but such systems are not enough, Ministry of Defense says. Ambassador of the EU to Ukraine, Mati Maasikas, visited Mykolaiv, met with the head of the regional state administration, Vitaly Kim, and Mayor Alexander Senkevich. A Russian missile flew to Wall Street in New York. The pop-up installation was set up for one day by You Animals activists. In this way, they seek to draw attention to the ecocide Russia during the war in Ukraine. An angry bull may be just a frightened animal running away from the war, explains Alexander Todorchuk. Activists remind that millions of animals have died because of Russian aggression, and thousands of square kilometers of soil are contaminated with harmful substances. So this is Wall Street in New York, and this is it's a fragment of a missile. Так, я з України. Добрий вечір. Доброго вечора, ми з України. So this is a missile near the Wall Street Bull. And it's been installed for one day in New York City. Actually, it's today. And if it wasn't so cold, I would kind of go and I would take a picture of it. Honestly, I'm still thinking that maybe I should just take Cine and go do that if I can find appropriate like winter clothing, because honestly, I've been wearing a parka with like faux fur inside, and it's still incredibly like incessantly cold. So I am I'm going to try and do that today, and I will try to film a video about it. Okay, so that is that. Then the Zelensky couple honored the memory of the heroes of the Heavenly 100 who defended dignity and freedom. Not only today, every day, worthy and free people are defending and creating. The post with a photo from the head of state reads, so if you don't know, все буде Україна. Так, звичайно. Так, живу в США. Long johns. Oh my God, that's so funny. You know, my husband wears long johns all the time, and his name is John. And so I always make fun of him because, like, ever since college, which is where we met, my only like view of him is like John in the long johns because he's like loves that stuff. But I don't have long johns. But I do have tights. But anyways. So if you don't know what Heavenly 100 is, Heavenly 100 are the 100 people that died during the Revolution of Dignity on Maidan Nezalezhnosti for our freedom and European values against a Russian-installed regime in Ukraine. And so, you know, anytime that Russians say that they can't do anything, they can't stand up to the regime, they can't do this, they can't do that, you know, it's just that they don't want to make this sacrifice because Ukrainians had the same regime and it was installed by Russia, yet we value freedom too much to give in to it. And unfortunately, we had to pay the highest price for it. But freedom doesn't come free. Скільки потрібно отримувати, щоб дали візу до США? Я не знаю, тому що я живу в США 11 років. Тобто я живу тут з 16 років, я приїхала сюди на навчання. Я поняття не маю, що там зараз відбувається. Was that Winter on Fire? Yes. Well, Winter on Fire is just a documentary about part of the events that transpired. But yes, it is. It's the same events as are depicted in Winter on Fire. Protests in Chisinau are held with the financial support of Russia. It is revenge, TV8. Attacks on us are part of the hybrid war we are facing right now. They're directly financed by the Russian Federation. Russia lost 90% of key European oil market even before new sanctions, says Bloomberg. 4 weeks before November 18th, Russia shipped only 95,000 barrels per day. So Russia is steadily losing oil sales, and they're also steadily finance basically misinformation and protests in European countries in order to undermine support for Ukraine. But it's very obvious to most of the people, and it's very obvious to the governments of these countries, that these protests are not started by their actual citizens. They're started by Russia, same way as Russia financed anti-Ukrainian protests and pro-Russian protests on Maidan during the Revolution of Dignity. Oh my God, that's so pretty. Thank you, Netlin. Also, hi, 8Life. Sorry, so for those of you who don't know, let me recap. My name is Yulia. I was born and raised in Lviv, Ukraine. I lived in Lviv until I was 16 years old, and then I moved to New York, where I have lived for the past 12 years. And my immediate family, mom, dad, aunt, grandmas, grandpa, all live in Lviv to date. And I am waiting to be able to visit once my travel paperwork is ready. And I stream every day, and we recap news for the past 24 hours in Ukraine and that are relevant to Ukraine. Thank you, Mariana. Also, Netlin, that wasn't lame. I thought it was very pretty. But so I recap this every day, and I stream on TikTok. On TikTok, oh my God, I just sounded like a boomer. I stream on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter simultaneously. Not that there is anything wrong with being a boomer, but I just sounded like I am, like I'm one of those grandpas that don't know how to handle social media, but try. So anyways, I stream on 4 platforms simultaneously. On YouTube, I have videos with Ukrainian defenders, and there is one very exciting interview that's coming up soon. Actually, there are 3 exciting interviews that are going to be added to my repertoire. And also there is a segment that I'm preparing that I'm currently filming that's also going to be a recurring segment on YouTube. So if you want to watch the videos, if you miss them, if you miss my streams, if you want to watch interviews with Ukrainian defenders, please follow me on YouTube. Also, just please follow me on YouTube, because YouTube is a very great place to be. On TikTok, you can find answers to most of your questions about Ukraine if you scroll far enough. And Twitch, well, if you like Twitch, it keeps my streams for 14 days. And if you like Twitter, then I used to give very unhinged commentary on Twitter, but now that Elon Musk is taking over, bringing back Donald Trump and driving Twitter into the oblivion, I might not be there for much longer. But yeah, so that is that. And that's what I wanted to say. But while I stream on TikTok at the same time as here, there are these very cute animated gifts. And I just got one that I've never gotten before, and it was very, very pretty. So that's where my reaction was stemming from. But Netlin, who sent me that gift, thinks that it was a lame gift. But I thought it was so cute. Like, I know what you mean. As in, like, it was a different one. As in, like, it was said differently. And I think it was short. It's kind of very cool. The other day, I saw these new ones, and they're like the pause. Like when I was doing a dual live with Joey, there is this, like, I think it's a limited sort of, like, sometimes TikTok does like limited edition gifts, I guess. And there were these like panther claws, and they kind of look like Cine claws to me, and they were so cute too. But yeah, one thing that TikTok does right is they definitely did design these gifts very, very, very well. And some of these gifts, I wish, like, oh my gosh, why do they have to be so expensive? Because like there are some of them that I just really want to see because they look like they would be a beautiful gift. Thank you, Lauren. But like, but they're so incredibly expensive, like the observatory. Yeah. The pause, yeah, Netlin. Yeah, those were awesome. Like the what is it? Like the observatory looks like it's gonna be such a beautiful animation, but why is it so expensive? And sometimes like the animations, they're not that beautiful. Sometimes the more beautiful animations are cheaper, and then the animations that are not that beautiful are more expensive. And I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they choose prices for these things. But anyways, that was a very long elaboration on like on UX on UX stuff and UI stuff that nobody needed. Kat says my favorite is Baby Lion. Oh my god, yeah, Baby Lion is adorable. Baby Lion is amazing. Well, see, I love lions. Lions are my favorite animal. So it's really funny that there are so many. Thank you, Karine. It's really funny that there are so many like gifts revolving lions, and that they're like the top, the higher tier gifts, I guess, because I like lions are my favorite animals. They've always been my favorite. Also, before I recap with Kyiv Independent, I will tell you. So I'm a Leo, right? I don't believe in zodiacs at all. I don't read horoscopes. I don't think zodiacs really like do anything to me. I think that a lot of people, I don't like defining my life before it happens, and I think that a lot of the times that's what like zodiac signs do. The description of zodiac signs does, and I think that's also what horoscopes do. And so I really don't like when people are incredibly into zodiacs, because then they just sort of tie things that are unrelated just to like, oh, it's because they're a Taurus, and it's like, no, it's because they're lazy. but so I'm obsessed with lions, and I was since I was a kid. And I remember when my mom, because in my family like zodiacs were almost like, you know, like it's sort of like it's a thing, like it's a scientific thing, and this is just what it is. Here is your zodiac sign, and this is who you're supposed to be. And it was funny because I grew up with it, but I remember like my mom believes in all of this stuff, my dad doesn't really. And so I remember reading all of these like horoscopes and being like, I don't get this. This is like so strange because this doesn't apply to me half the time, but supposedly I'm supposed to like kind of like go with it because this is what I'm supposed to be. So anyways, I was never really into it, but I really liked the fact that I'm a lion. So that's why I tolerated my mom's like zodiac obsession, because I was like, oh, at least it's like an animal I really like. And so when I was so obsessed with lions at some point that my grandpa, also a little backstory, my grandpa used to give me printer paper for every one of my birthdays, because my grandpa is like, he's a very, he's a very practical man. I have a printer, and this is printer paper. You need printer paper. So there we go. And so like this was my standard present for all of my birthdays. And then this one year I was upset. Like I was so obsessed with lions. I wanted everything lions. And my grandpa got me this massive stuffed animal of a lion. And by massive, I mean it was bigger than I am today. Like I could, my dad could sit, I used it as like a little sofa bed in my room, because I could literally sprawl myself all over that lion and it would be like a bed. So like basically I would lay on the lion's spine, and it was so big and it was so like majestic and it was just my favorite gift. It was like the coolest thing. I was obsessed with that lion, and my parents were obsessed with that lion. Everybody was obsessed with that lion because it was just like, it was like a huge lion. And so my dad would also often, I would like walk into my room and I would find my dad chilling on the lion's back, because every person could Lion King, can you feel the love tonight? You're loved, Julia. Oh, thank you. But so my dad would like chill in it too. And yeah, and so also Lion King used to be one of my favorite cartoons, and it was also the most heartbreaking cartoon. Like, as I'm a very visual person and I experience emotions very visually, and I guess like visual things sort of like bring me emotions. Like, it's not even like real life things that make me emotional, but sometimes like things on the screen, animated and cartoons and stuff like that, somehow like bring me more emotional output. And what I mean by that is like, everything that I think of, my schedule, like my calendar, I don't know, like things that I need to do, I visualize them in my head, and it's like a board, right? So when I see things that are animated or drawn on, I think they cause more of like an emotional response in me than like a movie. So like, let's say I can't watch very sad cartoons because they make me sadder than if I were to see a movie with the same circumstances. You know what I'm saying? So when I was a kid, my favorite cartoon was The Lion King. And I was so freaking upset when Mufasa's father died. I was so upset. It was devastating. Like, I think the only cartoon I cry at to date is when I watch Lion King. So yeah. So there is that. Yeah. So yeah, okay. Ukraine war latest. Kremlin accuses Ukraine of executing POWs. Kyiv denies, says it will investigate. So that is to that video that we saw a couple of days ago where Ukraine executed POWs, but what actually happened is that they fake surrendered and one of them opened fire. And here's the thing, even if the other guys real surrendered, but this guy opened fire and fake surrendered, they're his unit. And now he is to blame for what happened to them because it's combat now. It's not surrender. Media says video shows arrest of 2 Russian soldiers refusing to fight against Ukraine. We saw that yesterday. It looked very staged, and it looked like Russia just trying to make it look scary so people don't refuse to go to the military. Zelensky says fierce battles continue in Donetsk Oblast with fewer attacks due to bad weather. Explosions reported north of Russian-occupied Melitopol. Ukrainian military says Russia to produce Russian drones. Russia has lost over 8,000 units of military equipment since February 24th. Institute for the Study of War says Russian military correspondents emerging as a group with a distinct voice within Russia. The Institute for the Study of War said in its latest assessment that the Kremlin has allowed the ever-growing information military blogger community, which mainly consists of military correspondents or voenkors, to gain a quasi-official but independent position despite otherwise increasing domestic censorship. The Kremlin has historically promulgated its state narrative via Russian federal TV channels and print media. That the Kremlin tolerates this community is astonishing given its censorship of other more traditional outlets, including opposition and foreign media. The experts note, however, that those correspondents are not fully separate from the Russian government. Russian investigative outlet The Bell, for example, uncovered that the creator of one of the most influential Russian telegram channels, Rybar, is a former employee of the Russian Ministry of Defense press service. Governor says Russia shells Nikopol residential area overnight. 1 injured. Russia's attacks on a live 1 in Kharkiv Oblast injure 3 in Donetsk Oblast. UK Defense Ministry says Svatovo and Luhansk Oblast becomes vulnerable flank of Russian troops. Survey. Most Poles believe missile incident will not affect relations with Ukraine. About 70% of Polish citizens think that the blast in Przewodów, allegedly caused by a Ukrainian air defense missile amid a mass Russian strike on November 15th, will not change Polish-Ukrainian relations, according to a joint poll by RMF-FM and Dziennik Gazeta Prawna. But also, Mateusz Morawiecki came out the other day and said that they cannot identify yet where exactly the missile came from. So it's not even allegedly Ukrainian anymore because they are openly stating that they don't know where this missile came from. So, media. Polish prosecutors won't allow Ukraine to join investigation of Przewodów blast. Polish prosecutor's office will not agree to include the Ukrainian side in the investigation of the rocket explosion in the town of Przewodów, Polish media outlet Rzeczpospolita reported, citing sources familiar with the matter. There is no such legal possibility, and it would be against the procedures, not to mention the interest of the investigation, in which all possible versions are examined, including that a Ukrainian air defense missile could have fallen. One of the sources said, according to the report. But see, that's not necessarily true, because anytime something like this happens with Western European countries, they're allowed to join the investigation, because obviously they would be. and they're allowed to provide all of their evidence. So why Ukrainian experts are not going to be allowed on the scene is only because Ukraine wouldn't be seen on an equal ground. Because if it happened like between Poland and France, Poland would never tell France that, oh my God, oh my gosh, that's the observatory. It's so pretty. Oh, thank you, 8 Life. Oh my God, I'm sorry. The observatory gift that I was talking about, 8 Life sent it to me. Thank you so much. And it was beautiful. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. It kind of looks like a way nicer version, way more decorated version of the observatory in LA that looks over at the Echo Park. But that was so pretty. Thank you so much. And unexpected. Thank you so much. Oh my God, that was very pretty. Sorry. I feel like sometimes when I see these like super beautiful things that I wasn't expecting, I get like into this kid mode of like oh my gosh, your kid distracted you and you missed it. I'm sorry. Heroyam Slava, thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Oh, good news. So Torque got his Theragun and he got the dog treats. But so he sent me a video today of giving his dog the dog treats. But it was like one of those disappearing videos, you know? And so I can't show it to you. But he was like, hey, I'm so sorry, but you know, I received it, but we didn't have any power. I just got to like my mom's place where his dog lives, right? And he's like, and I just wanted to give you a report and like blah blah blah. And I'm like, you don't need to give me a report. Oh my God, I was just wondering if it's helping you, and if your dog likes it, I don't need you to report to me. You know, I'm like, we're not doing this so we could get some output from you. It's just like we wanted you to have this so you could be healthier faster. And I wanted your dog to have treats because I love dogs. But his dog is so cute. It was so funny. First of all, he doesn't like give commands to his dog. He talks to his dog and his dog understands him. Like he'll be like, hey, here, wait a second. Like, wait a second. I'm don't eat yet. Like, wait a sec. And like, he's not saying it like I say to Cindy, like, wait, right? He's like, wait a second, don't eat it yet. I'm not ready. And like, then he will be like, okay, yeah, sure. Try it out. Yeah, chew it. And the dog starts chewing. And I'm like, how are you talking to your dog like that? Like you're talking to him like a human and he understands you. This dog fascinates me. His dog is adorable. He has a pit bull. But yeah, so the Theragun is with him. I'm gonna wait on his impressions. I don't think he tried it yet. He's like such a, you know, he's such a humble person, and I'm very happy that his dog likes the treats. I'll send his dog some more treats, like Christmas treats. I don't know, but you know, a real life dog whisperer. Yeah, yes, but yeah. So yeah. Zelensky's address on Dignity and Freedom Day. Ukrainians may be left without electricity, but they will never lack freedom. That's true. Local official. Russian forces strike at civilian infrastructure in Kherson. Poland plans to station Patriot missile systems at Ukrainian border. New Zealand expands sanctions against Russia and Belarus. Luxembourg to supply off-road vehicles to Ukrainian military. NATO Parliamentary Assembly recognizes Russia as a terrorist state, calls for special tribunal creation. The resolution names Russia the most direct threat to Euro-Atlantic security, said Tomas Valasek, a member of the Slovak delegation to the NATO PA. It states clearly that the state of Russia under its current regime is a terrorist one, he added. He added that Russia violated its agreements with the alliance, thus the provision of limiting the forward deployment of troops is null and void. Spanish police to help Ukraine investigate Russian war crimes. Norway to allocate nearly 200 million to Ukraine to help purchase gas. Life is slowly returning to Kherson, still without power and without water. Officials say Russian shelling of Kherson kills 1, injures 3 people. General Staff says Russia continues covert mobilization in occupied Crimea. Ukraine says military operation underway on the left bank of Dnipro River. Bloomberg notes that Russia has lost over 90% of its market in Northern Europe. President's office says Russian forces strike civilian infrastructure in liberated Kherson. That was expected. Governor says 2 people injured by Russian shelling of Volchansk, Kharkiv Oblast. Zelensky and Macron discussed shelling of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which was the largest shelling that had happened on it, and a lot of these missiles hit near the reactors, and there were 12 of them total. President Volodymyr Zelensky held a phone conversation with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron on November 21st, focusing on the situation on the battlefield in Ukraine and at nuclear plants. I stressed the need for demilitarization of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. We also discussed cooperation on ensuring Ukraine's energy stability, in particular, protecting the system from air attacks, Zelensky said on Twitter. On November 20th, over a dozen explosions were reported near the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency. While the origin of the explosions is unclear, Ukraine's nuclear power monopoly, Energoatom, said Russian forces had shelled the area on the morning of November 20th. So yeah, that is all I have for you for today. And I'm very happy that Russia has been recognized as a terrorist state and that I can say this now without worrying that I will be reported for harassment, bullying, or hate speech because, well, it is recognized by NATO as a terrorist state, and hopefully on the 23rd, it's also going to be recognized by Euro Parliament. Hello, Grumpkin. So it'll be official and worldwide. Yeah? Yeah, maybe? Yeah? Are you happy that Russia has been recognized as a terrorist state? Because that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly the things that it does. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Sin deserves a treat. Well, I don't have any near me right now, but I will be feeding and walking her in about like 10 minutes, so she will get her yummies and her food. I just don't want to say the word because she's gonna go crazy. How is your back feeling? My back is feeling slightly better. So as I said, I used my friend's Theragun the other day, and it actually helped tremendously. I definitely am feeling much better here, although I do still have soreness over here that I didn't know I had because I guess this one was so bad that this just wasn't like showing itself. So I do still have like a weird feeling over here. I'm gonna try to see what's up on Black Friday because I might just I'm definitely set on wanting to buy a Theragun. I just don't want to buy it for the price for which it is right now. I think that it's super helpful. And when I use massagers and stuff like that for my muscles, they're actually feeling much better. And I think that those things really are helping. So yeah, so it's been better. I still can't it's uncomfortable still in a way to sort of like to go further than this and do certain motions, but it's not painful anymore. And on this side though, this part of my like shoulder blade is not doing very well, but not nearly as bad as this one was doing. So, plans for Thanksgiving, or do you celebrate it? Yes, I'm going to my in-laws. They're divorced, so we have John's mom's Thanksgiving, and then we have John's dad's Thanksgiving, and we are doing both of these things. So I'm excited. I haven't seen my family in a while, so yeah, it's cool. And then yeah. We were actually laughing with John because my parents are also divorced, and he's like, Yulia, when you're able to travel, does that mean that instead of 2 dysfunctional Christmases, we have to have 4 dysfunctional Christmases? And I'm like, yes. Yes. Hi, Truthful. it certainly does mean exactly that. We get to have 4 dysfunctional Christmases. He was like, I can't have 4 dysfunctional Christmases. And I'm like, well, it's fine because see, I have a plan. I have a plan because in Ukraine, Christmases. Привіт, привіт, я також зі Львова, Роман. But so yeah, but so basically I was like saying that I have a plan because Ukrainian Christmas is on a different day than American Christmas is. So we can do the dysfunctional Christmases with or Thanksgiving, or rather, like we can do the Thanksgiving with his family. Then we can go to Ukraine for American Christmas, saying that we're going to go visit my family for Christmas. What we can do is we can go skiing in Zakopane, which is like this place in Poland that I really love because I used to go there all the time with my family. Oh, thank you, Todd. Thank you. And so, what was that? And so I was like, we can do that for like Christmas, right? Or for, thank you, Melissa. We can do that for Christmas, and we can, with my dad, and we can go skiing and snowboarding. So it's not going to be dysfunctional because you'll be snowboarding, I'll be skiing. It'll be fantastic, right? And we will still spend Christmas that we celebrate. And then by the time we come back, we can do New Year's with my mom. And then we come back to New York or come back to the US from the Ukrainian Christmas. So that way we don't actually have to stick around for Ukrainian Christmas, and we don't have to have a dysfunctional Christmas at all. Doesn't that sound, thank you, Netlin. Doesn't that sound like a plan? I feel like I've cracked the code. I feel like I've cracked the code, So yeah. Also, Zakopane is an amazing place in Poland for skiing. Maybe I'm biased because I used to go there with my family all the time when I was a kid, like every year, and it's one of my favorite places on the planet. It's a small town, and it's a skiing, snowboarding town. I love it. And it does have a lot of different mountains with a lot of different levels of difficulty. So, so there is that, but I absolutely love that place. So yeah. Just FYI, Right, Sinister? Just FYI? Oh no, for Christmases I usually have 2 and it's just so much food. Oh, thank you, Truthful. Well, I got traumatized by skiing in Zakopane. Oh no, what? I love Zakopane. It's my favorite. Well, which mountain did you go to? Wait. I'll tell you because we have like a favorite mountain. It's not super extreme or anything like that. In fact, it's pretty like underwhelming, but we love it because we can kind of like, choose our speed and our whatever. But we used to go to, I always forget the name of the mountain. I always forget the name of that mountain, but it was not Kasprowy Wierch. There's like one that's just so, like they do competitions in that one, and that one is not good. I don't like that mountain. That mountain is no good, no bueno. Nosal, Pod Nosalem, no? Was it Pod Nosalem? No. Was it Nosal? See, no, Nosal sounds like Kasprowy Wierch, no. Givont maybe. Givont might be it. Yeah, see, there is like a lot of like mountain peaks in that area. But yeah. Szlachna Nosal. I don't know. See, that's strange. Can't remember, but they gave me small boots and my legs were bleeding and in pain. Oh my god, no! But see, like, yeah, boots are hard to find. Like, I have a very hard problem finding boots because I have very narrow feet and they're very small. But then my what are they called? Oh my gosh. Basically, I have very muscular this, and so it's like hard for me to find boots that fit both of those descriptions. Just got bruises from small boots. Oh yeah, but bruises from skiing is like a very normal thing. Calves. Thank you. Yeah. Did you see the report I sent you on Twitter? Ireland ordered Russian diplomats to the Foreign Office and then ordered them out of the country. It's reported on RTE News. Oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy that Ireland ordered them out of the country. That's amazing. That's a big move. Hate buying shoes. Well, I have very narrow feet and small narrow feet, and trust me, it's also a pain to buy shoes because my feet just keep wobbling in all of the shoes. Alrighty, guys, I'm going to go give some dinner to this lady, and I'm then going to go on an adventure with this lady, and I'm gonna try to go look at the bowl with the installation. So I shall try to show it to you, and I will see you guys soon, okay? Bye, guys. See you later. Bye-bye. So good to see you. Thank you for keeping up. Oh, today we actually did a standard time newscast. Okay. Bye, guys. So good to see you. Thank you to everyone, and I will see you tomorrow.